It is night in a small town in Phrygia, and the house is on fire. A man runs out through the smoke, half-dressed, a sword in his hand, ready to fight whoever lit the flames. But there is no one close enough to fight. The men who came for him have stepped back into the dark, out of reach, and they will not say who sent him. Who wanted this man dead badly enough to burn a house to reach him? The answer is that almost everyone did. He had betrayed every side that ever trusted him, and even now, no one agrees on whose order finally killed him. Athens loved him first. Alcibiades was born around 450 BC into one of the city's oldest families, and when his father was killed in battle, he was raised in the household of Pericles himself, the most powerful man in Athens. He grew up beautiful, brilliant, and rich, the kind of young man a whole city decided to be fascinated by. People couldn't decide whether he was Athens' greatest hope or its greatest danger. He turned out to be both. Socrates kept close to him for years, and the two served side by side in the field. Everyone wanted a piece of him. That was the problem. Alcibiades had every gift a man could want, and no loyalty to spend them on. He could give a speech that turned a hostile crowd, spend a fortune to be admired, and charm an enemy into trusting him. And he would do all three in the same week for no cause but his own. Athens mistook that brilliance for devotion. It wasn't. It was only ever brilliance. And the city was about to hand him an army. In 415 BC, Athens voted to do something enormous. It would send a great fleet across the sea to Syracuse, and Alcibiades was chosen as one of the men to lead it. It was the largest gamble the city had ever made. And then, in the days before the ship sailed, Athens woke to find its sacred statues destroyed. The Herms, the stone markers that stood outside every important door, mutilated in a single night. The city panicked. And someone made sure Alcibiades' name was in the accusation, alongside a second charge, that he had mocked the Eleusinian mysteries, the holiest rite in the city. Whether he did either of these things, we don't know. The sources don't agree, and his enemies had every reason to lie. But here is the turn. Rather than sail home and stand trial, rather than trust the city that had raised him, Alcibiades ran. He went to the one place that could hurt Athens most. He went to Sparta, and he told them everything. In Sparta, he became Spartan. He gave them the advice that would bleed Athens for years, fortify Deceleia deep in Athenian countryside, and send help to Syracuse to break the very fleet he had helped launch. He was good at it. He was too good at it. Because while he was making himself indispensable to Sparta, he was also, if the stories are true, sleeping with Timaya, the wife of the Spartan king Agis. She bore a son, and people whispered the child was his. No one could prove it, but the king believed it. And a betrayed king is a dangerous man to live beside. So Alcibiades ran again, this time to Persia, to the satrap Tissaphernes, trading what he knew for protection. And then he did the most Alcibiades thing of all. He started working his way back to Athens. He won battles for the city he had betrayed, crushed a fleet at Cyzicus, and in 407 BC he sailed home in triumph, welcomed back by the very people he had abandoned. For a moment, it looked as though the story might end well. It didn't.
Athens is not kind to men who disappoint it twice. The next year, his fleet lost a battle at Notium while he was away from it, and the city that had just carried him through its streets turned on him again. He didn't wait to be tried a second time. He left, and this time there was nowhere left to run. No Sparta, no Persia, no Athens. Only a small estate in Phrygia, far from anything, on land that belonged to other men, where a commander of fleets lived quietly with a woman named Timandra. He was still, by any measure, one of the most famous men alive. Kings had feared him. Now he was a guest on someone else's land, waiting to see who remembered where he was. Then, one night in 404 BC, the men came. They didn't force the door. They didn't call him out. They surrounded the house in the dark and set it alight. Alcibiades woke to smoke. He did what he had always done. He wrapped a cloak around one arm, took up a sword, and ran out through the fire to meet them. There was no one within reach. They had stepped back into the night, and from there, where he could not touch them, they killed him the way men kill something they cannot risk fighting. They threw everything they had: arrows, javelins, a storm of them out of the dark, until the man who had betrayed every side in the war lay dead in the dirt. He was around 46 years old.
And here the story refuses to close, because we still don't know who sent them. The oldest accounts point to Pharnabazus, the Persian on whose land he died. Others say the order came from Sparta, from the admiral Lysander, who had just won the war and wanted no loose ends left standing. Some say Lysander was only acting for the 30 tyrants, the men Sparta had installed to rule a broken Athens, who feared their most dangerous exile might rise one last time. And there is a quieter story, that this was never politics at all, that the killers were the brothers of a local woman he had taken to his bed, avenging their own house. 4 answers, maybe more. By the end, so many people wanted Alcibiades dead that history cannot tell you which of them finally did it. That is its own kind of verdict. What burned in that house wasn't only a man, it was an idea that talent is enough, that if you are gifted enough and clever enough and charming enough, the rules that bind ordinary men will bend around you.